when we start, this is our second workshop, online with the Old Town School with Happy Traum, and we're just super thrilled. And if you're unfamiliar, the Old Town School is the largest and oldest community music school in the country. We started in 1957, long storied career. Produced the likes of Roger McGuinn and John Prine. So I will send some links to follow up about some of our classes and some upcoming workshops. And you should already have my email, but please use me as a resource and a point person if you have any more questions, or want more info about the Old Town School, because we really are a unique organization. Really kind of in line with, homespun tapes, honestly. There's not too many of us out there. So, this is a natural, I think, connection. Happy, so but yeah, other than that, for intro, I just want to let you know our default will be to keep ourselves muted so we're not interrupting Happy's instruction. If you have excuse me, questions, you can use the chat box, and I will be paying attention to that. If anything, you can feel free to unmute if you feel like your question is urgent, but we will get to questions, and we will, Happy and I are both experienced educators, so we will definitely, flow this out so you get your questions answered. And it's only music, so nothing could be that urgent. But if you feel like it's very, you should, for the group's understanding, unmute when in the middle of something. You can do that. Well, use your discretion. But the way these Zooms work is, ideally it's best to unmute when it's, a pause moment when we ask if there's any questions or anything like that. But I will definitely look at the chat and do my best to type with finger picks on. So I think that's all I have. Oh, and I'll record this and send it out to you later. And Jim, don't worry about the logistics. I'll follow up in an email. So we haven't even started yet. So let's get going, and we'll cover all that. Cool. Thank you very much.
Okay, I guess it's up to me now. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining my class here. What I've decided to do here is to take as many of the Bob Dylan songs that I could think of that you might like to play. And we can only get to so many in a couple of hours. But I like to use these as a vehicle, not so much for learning the specific songs, but for developing a guitar technique and learning how to accompany any song, not just Dylan songs. But I want to give you just a little bit of background before we start actually playing together. I met Bob originally in 1962, shortly after he came to New York. And I was in a group called the New World Singers, which was a quartet. I joined a trio. We became a quartet. And Bob used to come to our shows a lot. He was a big fan of our music. He used to show up at Gertie's Folk City or the Gaslight Cafe or Bitter End when we played there in New York in the early days of the folk revival. And he was the one that taught us Blowing in the Wind, which he had just written. And my group, I'm not going to go into it now, it's a long story, but we were the first group to record both Blowing in the Wind and Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. I have to say, we didn't have the big hits on those recordings, but we were the first, so that was pretty cool. And my friendship with Bob went all the way through into the 1970s. When I moved to Woodstock, when he had left New York and moved to Woodstock as well. I'm speaking to you from Woodstock, New York right now, where I've been living for more than 50 years. So I have a big, rich background with Bob Dylan, but mostly my association with him is through his older stuff. I've been listening to his records through the years and up to the most recent ones. But my real knowledge is of the classic early acoustic stuff. So that's what I'm going to be concentrating on here. So a word or two about the guitar, which you might wonder about. This is a Santa Cruz. It's an all mahogany OM model. I've been associated with the Santa Cruz Guitar Company now for about 12 years or so. Um, and this one I got about I think 4 years, 5 years ago. Um, it's got these multicolored strings on it, which you can see. I think aside from looking cool, they help me in teaching because people say that, and I hope you find this too, that it's easier to see where my fingers are on the strings. And these strings are made by the DR company. It's a brand that I endorse, and I like these multicolored strings, especially for teaching. But they're cool on stage as well. They just look nice, I think. And then one other little thing here is that I've got a little piece of tape here on my seventh fret. It's a little crude, but I stuck it on there because when I teach online, people tell me, since I don't have any fret markers uh, on the fretboard of the guitar, it's hard for people to know where my fingers are if I'm moving around. So I put that at the seventh fret just as a guide for you, not for me, so that you can see if I go up here, you'll know that this is the fifth fret, for instance, because that's the seventh. So it's just like a little marker there, so you can see where I'm at. Okay, so let's get started playing. Everybody got your guitars in tune. Um, I thought I'd start with something really easy and basic and just show how to build it up a little bit. And I chose for the opening song here, You Ain't Going Nowhere. And this is one that I recorded with Bob Dylan on his Greatest Hits Volume 2. The two of us, I actually played banjo on that and overdubbed a bass part and sang harmony with him on that. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that recording. Don't of You Ain't Going Nowhere, but it's actually one of my favorites that I've done. This was originally written for what eventually became known as the basement tapes, where Bob and the band were holed up at Big Pink and just outside of Woodstock here, and wrote dozens and dozens and dozens of songs, and they were meant for other people to play and sing and get hits of them. This one was recorded by the Byrds. I think they had the biggest hit. So you're probably familiar with Roger McGuinn, so he could tell you a lot about his part of this about this song as well. So the nice thing about this song is that it's got three chords basically. We'll play it in G, which is a good key. So it's got G, A minor, and C. And it's so simple that those chords just keep going around in the same order through the whole song. It's really that easy. So for now, to start out, let's just try playing it together, get a nice groove going. And I'm going to start out by playing. Now, oh, one other thing I should tell you about is I have finger picks on. You don't have to have finger picks. I use them because actually, because of the whole COVID thing and not being able to go out, I usually get acrylic nails on my first three fingers of my on my right hand, and I always use a thumb pick. But since you can't go to nail salons these days, I had to revert back to finger picks. So I use two finger picks and a thumb, but you could just use your fingers, or some people use a flat pick and fingers. I'm a finger picker, so I do like to use my fingers more than a flat pick. But for now, so we'll start on a G, and I'm just going to take a nice easy bass strum and alternate my bass note probably between the sixth and the fourth string. And I'm going to have to look at the words here because the words that I did with Dylan are different than the ones that the Byrds did. He changed them around a lot, so I'm going to glance over here and get the original words. And this ones I sent you, but just play along, don't worry about it now. And one thing I like to do is move my finger off the B string, the B note here on the fifth string, and move it over to the E note on the fourth string, and that gives me a sixth chord. So it's kind of, or you can hammer it on. Cloud so swift. Now it goes to A minor. Rain won't lift. C. Gate won't close. And again, I'm playing a bass note, strum, hammer on. Here I'm hammering on the D to the E on the fourth string. And make sure you can, I'm just going to tilt my camera down a little bit so you can make sure you can see my hand here. Let's see. Okay. On the top. And I'm playing sort of a bass, down, up, bass, down, up. Get a nice little groove going with that. Clouds so swift, A minor, rain won't lift, C, gate won't close, railings froze. Get your mind off winter time, see, you ain't going nowhere. Now the chorus, exactly the same as the verse. Ooh, we ride behind. And on that A minor, you can also hammer on that fourth string. Ride me high, see, tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Ooh, we're gonna fly down in the easy chair. Okay, play along with me now. Let's take it from the beginning so the words don't really matter here. So just take the first verse again. Okay. And this, by the way, can be different things. You know, you don't have to stick to the same pattern all the time. You can play, I'm playing a bass note and then coming up. As long as the beat stays strong. And of course, when you do this song, it'll be much faster. Usually it's dun, 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 dun. But for now, we'll just do it slow. Okay, here we go. Clouds so swift, rain won't lift, gate won't close, railings froze. Get your mind off winter time. You ain't going nowhere. Chorus. Ooh, we ride me high. Tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Oh, we're gonna fly down in the easy chair. So that one more time. Clouds so swift, rain won't lift, gates won't close, railings froze. Get your mind off winter time. You ain't going nowhere. Okay, so you get the idea. Play around with that. Try to get different sounds. Just keep a steady beat going. Nice, strong bass notes. That's really important for this kind of playing. You really got to lean into those. You don't want to be too wishy-washy with those bass notes. Now, let's say, you know, this song has several verses and maybe you want to get a different sound as you move ahead with other verses of the song. So one thing I might do is switch to a G chord here. And now I use, it's like an F chord moved up 2 frets. And I bring my thumb over the top. Some people have trouble with this. You could use a bar chord, but this gives you a lot more flexibility when you use your thumb because it leaves your little finger free. So here again, you can play your sixth. That's the same as that note. And you can get more of a rhythmic sound with this because you can damp those strings with your left hand. And then, so you can go to this A minor, or if you move this F shape up 2 frets to the 5th fret and lift your second finger up, you get an A minor here. You don't even need your thumb for this because you have a A note. And that's just like an E minor moved up. So this is your A minor. And then you can go to your C here. And for the C, put your little finger down on the G note of the first string here. So now it might sound like this. And again, I got my bass note there. Clouds so swift, now rain won't lift. Railings froze. So I get that nice rocking feeling with adding that 6th of the scale there, that E. Take your mind off with time. You ain't going nowhere. Now, another little variation you could do is if when you're up here on this A minor at the 5th fret, if you go back to your F shape and go to the 8th fret, there you have a C again. So now I'm going up to, you can do the same thing you did on the G and get that nice rocking feel again, that real sort of moving rhythm. So if I start here on the G now, you can get a nice variation there between the verse and the chorus, or the chorus and the verse, whatever. So right there you kind of move it along, get a nice feel for it. I'm gonna let me see if I can see everybody here. Let's see. Okay. So everybody following me so far? Is this wave if it's too easy? Okay, wave if it's too hard. Okay, we're right in the middle. Good. Okay, so the next thing I might want to do is play the melody of the song. Maybe take a solo. And this is especially good if somebody else is continuing to play the rhythm. If you've got a buddy that you're getting together with, I realize these days it's not so easy to get together with anybody, but let's say sometime in the future when we can all get together and play again, we can, jam together. So what you want to do here is find the melody notes within the chords that you're playing. So if I'm playing da 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 da, so you hunt around and find that the B note, second string open, is your first note of the song. B to G. Then I'm going to go to A minor. And this is just like a hunt and peck thing. As long as you're playing the chord, in this song in particular, the notes fall right into the chords you're playing. It's a very simple song. C, there's your G note, and then G again to a D. So, what do you do when if you're playing by yourself? You can go put in some chords in between those notes. If the notes are coming too quickly, you're not going to have time to put a chord in. But if there's like a half note or there's a rest there, and you can throw a chord in. Amen. So this is, we call this thumb lead because your thumb is playing the melody. It's kind of almost like a Carter family style where you're filling in the notes with a strum. If I was playing this, rather than play this open B note to get that first note, I would play it as a fretted note on the fourth fret of the third string. Same note, but you can slide up to it. And then if you put your first finger down on the second string, third fret, well, that's part of a G chord too, right? And then you can get a little more creative with the melody. Here I'm blocking out I'm sort of strumming it, but blocking out my first string. Otherwise you get that sixth. Might be a little jarring in that spot. So sliding down. And you can start playing around with the melody. It doesn't always have to be just three notes. You go, or anything you want. Next verse. Or here. And so forth. So even with a song that's as simple as this, that has three just basic chords, you can dress it up quite a lot and make it into a whole little guitar piece. Before we leave this song, I just want to show you one more thing you can do with it. And again, this is especially good if you're playing with somebody else who can play rhythm on a guitar or a bass or a banjo or whatever else they're playing. You want to really take something that resembles a solo. So here what I'm going to do is take this G chord. Solos, you can play it down here, like I just showed you. But a lot of times you want to go up on the higher frets and get a higher sound because it cuts through better if you're playing a solo than on the lower strings. So if I take this G chord and play it in a D shape, now this is your normal D, but I'm going up here to the 7th fret. Now that's a G. I'm just playing 3 strings. So D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G. So I got my D shape, 7th fret, and lo and behold, the first string is playing a melody note. Right? An octave higher. So now here's your A minor that we did on the 5th fret. And here's your C here at the 8th fret, F shape. And now I'm going to go back down to my F shape on the 3rd fret. So once again, G like a D shape, A minor at the 5th, C, G. Now just taking that much, the simplest way to do this, I'm just going to strum 3 strings, but I'm going to try to emphasize that first, or whatever string the melody is on. So here it is on the 1st string. And it switches down to the 2nd string. Then up to the F shape at the 8th fret. Now here the melody's on the 2nd string. And then I'm going to go down to F shape, or you could go to your open G. But then you still want this note down. So, not so swift. So there I'm using actually 4 different chord shapes. This one, this one, this one, and again, it's the same chord shape, it's just a different position. Now, if you want to even make it a little bit nicer sounding, you can play single strings. Here I'm just sliding up 3rd string to the 2nd string. Same shape though, same F shape. Now when I'm on that A minor, if I'm only playing 3 strings, I only need 1 finger really. So I can bring my little finger up here to this G note, or I can go so I've got this finger barring 3 strings, little finger's playing the 7th fret, 5th fret, 8th fret, and then the 5th fret again. Once again, I'm just going to show you this, then I'm going to leave this alone and let you play with it later, because there's all kinds of things you can figure out from this later on. So let's say I go, whoops, sorry, I'll do that again. You can put a little more attitude into it. There's all kinds of things you can do And again, if another thing you can do yourself until it's safe to get together with friends who also play is record yourself playing something like that. Just record yourself playing the chords, maybe do it 5, 6, 7 times, and then play it back. And as it's playing back, try to work out some solos. Okay, so does that make sense? All right.
Great. And Happy, let me just interject. We're finding at the Old Town School that a lot of people might forget that you have recording, excuse me, recording devices on your smartphone. So it's always good to remind people that when you say record, you don't have to mean the studio or
Oh yeah,
expensive
yeah, no, yes.
equipment. Like we all have these smartphones, and if you record yourself on that and turn it all the way up, it gets loud enough to play along to. And just like Happy's saying, you can learn quite a lot by doing that.
Right. So let me see what my next song here is going to be. I had my list. I think I was going to do. Well, you know what? Let's go back to "Blowing in the Wind," which is that one that everybody knows. And of course, when Bob did it, it was pretty much strumming, as I remember. And I think he did it in G, maybe, or C. I'm not quite sure. I like to do it in drop D tuning. And so if everybody tunes their sixth string down one whole step, and everybody have a capo. If everybody has a capo, I'm going to put my capo at the second fret. So I'm actually in the key of E, but I'm going to give you all the chords as if the capo wasn't there because it's too confusing otherwise. So I'm going to say this is a D chord, even though the capo's on, in reality it's E. Or if you put it at the third fret, it would be F, or if you put it at the fifth fret, it would be G. So, but it's always going to be D for us. So is there anybody here who's not at all familiar with drop D tuning? Just wave at me if you, couple of people. So drop D tuning is fantastic. I use it for all different kinds of songs. Of course, the key of D is the main one you think of when you're playing drop D, because you get that root note there on the sixth string, and you have usually when you play a D chord, you have to avoid the sixth string because it's usually an E note, but here you can play all six strings. I also, by the way, play a lot of songs in G, because then the 5 chord, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, the 5 chord is your D, so you get a strong 5 chord. Or in the key of A, if the song goes to a 4 chord a lot, which in the key of A is D, but the key of D is the most natural one for drop D tuning. So everything is almost the same, except you have to make a few adjustments, because since this string is no longer an E, but it's 2 frets lower, when you play a G, you can't play a G like this anymore, because now this is an F note. So I play the G a couple of different ways. This way is one of them. So you bring your ring finger out here to the, we'll call this the 5th fret above the capo. First finger's on the G note here. And usually this 5th string gets damped. So there's a very basic G chord. D, G. If you're not used to it, it takes a little practice going from the D to the G. And then if I play an A or an A7th chord, which is another chord that's always found in the key of D, I either avoid the 6th string, because that's now not going to sound good, or I use either my first finger to fret that, making that an E again, or I use my thumb. Same if I'm doing an E minor, I would fret that string, G, or in just an A, I play it like this, and I will avoid the 6th string there, or a lot of people have trouble doing that, but so the fun part of this song is that it goes quite a lot from the 1 chord or the D to the 4 chord. Okay? So to start out, I'm just going to strum it. I want to get into a finger picking version of this later, but I'm just going to strum this. And we'll do it slow. So it's going to go from D, how many? G, Rose, and back to D, must. Before, back to G, they call him, back to D, man. And now it goes to a quick A, or A7, yes, and then back to D. Now this is exactly the same as the first verse until the very end of it. How many seas must the white dove sail before G again she sleeps in the sand? A, G, I'm sorry, D. How many times G must a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see there's an A or an A7? So that's the verse. The chorus goes, the answer, my friend. So let's just try that again. So just to make it quick, it goes from D, G, D, D, G, D, D, G, D, 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 A7, D, G, D, D, G, D. Okay, up to that point. Let's just do that part together. You get a nice bass strum rhythm going. And again, make sure you get nice strong bass notes. How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? A7. Yes, and how many seas must the white dove sail before she sleeps? G, A7 in the sand. Yes, and D. How many times can a man turn his head and pretend he just doesn't see is your, so that's leading you into the chorus now, that A7th. So the chorus now goes G, the answer my A friend, or A7th, whichever one you like. Then it goes D. Now here's the only chord that varies from the D, G, A. Goes to a B minor, in the wind. And then to G, the answer is A, 7th, blowing in the wind. So let's just try the chorus part from the G, the answer, my friend. Here we go. The answer, my friend. A, D is blowing, B minor, in the wind. G, the answer is A7th, blowing in the wind. Now, if you really want to be Dylan-ish about this, on that last D, and we could do this other places, put your little finger down on the first string, 3rd fret. You get a suspended 4th there. Dylan loved to do that on all his early records. Okay, let's try it again, a little more up-tempo. Again, strong bass notes, and I'm going to stop it from time to time and show you other things you can do in here. How many cheap roads must a man walk down before call him a man? A7th. Yes, and how D, G, C's must D white of sand before she sleeps in the sand. Now, one thing I want to mention, sometimes, Dylan never did this, but playing any kind of a song in this, like, let's say in the key of D, sometimes you can substitute the G or 4 chord, D, E, F, G, 4. You can do a 2 minor, which here is an E minor. And to my ear, I think that sounds nice sometimes. Like if I go, before she sleeps in the sand. So instead of going sleeps, to me, that's a nice harmony in there. So I might play it that way instead. Before she sleeps in the sand. And here on that A7th, you can also do a little suspended chord by putting your little finger, instead of on the 2nd string, 2nd fret, the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. And then it has to come back, because otherwise it's going to hang there. That's why it's called suspended. It's sort of like hanging until you resolve it. So I'll just do that line again. Oh, she sleeps in the sand. Yes, and how? You hear that? How many times to D a man turn his head? Again, here I'm going to go in A7th with a suspended. Doesn't see. That's a taste thing. If you like it, use it. Then G, the answer, A, my friend, is blowing. Now here I'm going to go to a B minor. Let's make it a little more interesting and do a run-up on the bass notes to the B minor. Blowing in the wind. I'm going from an open A, A sharp, B. And then instead of going to my G, I'll go to an E minor. The answer is A7 blowing in the wind. I'm going to do that again. Pretend that he just doesn't see. Okay, the answer, my friend, If you like the G better, the answer a little more straight ahead, and maybe the way Dylan would have done it, but I kind of like this. Answer is blowing in the wind. So these little bass runs add quite a lot. Now there's not a lot of room here. Da, 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 da. But you can go. Yes, my friend, blowing in the wind. If you want to figure out some bass runs to put in there, just like this one. The answer is blowing in the wind. Just to kind of, again, add some movement, add some interest to the song. So that's the basic idea of this song. It's a very easy song to play if you're just doing it and it's strumming it like this. But I want to bring some more guitar information to you with this. And one of the great things I find about drop D tuning is that I can play this in other positions on the neck and still have that nice bass note always available to me. And what I'm going to show you here is going to take one different configuration of the G chord. So we were playing G like this, right? We got this G note here on the bass, got a lot of open strings, and we got a G note on the top. If you take this G in the bass, play it with your first finger instead of your ring finger, and use your little finger to play the 7th fret. That's a B note. At least it's a B if you didn't have a capo, but we'll just say it's a B. And now this, again, I'm blocking out this A note here on the 5th string. And that gives you a nice chord. It's a G chord with a B on top. Here it is with a G on top. Here it is with a B on top. So that's one chord you should know. Another one is if you take the D, which is your root chord, and play it this way. First finger on the 1st string, 5th fret. Ring finger on the 2nd string, 2 frets higher on the 7th fret. And your middle finger on the 7th fret of the 3rd string. So there's a D chord that you can play all 6 strings. And you have an A note here at the top instead of an F sharp. Right? Everybody see that? So this is one of the most useful chords you'll know. So if I go from this configuration of D to this configuration of G, and then back to this D, and then to my regular D, you can hear that the melody note is on the top now, and you can pretty much play the melody of the song like this. So really, these two new chords, this D here, and this G here, and then back to this D, and then down to this D, and then you'll end up on the D note, and then you can do it again. It's kind of outlining the melody. So if you took it further and went, how many seasons regular third fret G, sleeps in, and then an A. Right there, you've got the melody to Blowing in the Wind. Now we're just strumming it. It's a very simple version, but I'll play you that, take it that far again. And notice I'm emphasizing that high melody note. That's my little suspended note. And then back up here. Now here I might play that as an F shape at the 5th fret, so I can get that high. Then coming down to this G, the A7, friend. Melody falls right into those chords. D, B minor. Melody's on the 2nd string there. Then to the 1st string, then there's my little suspended. So using these 2 extra chords, and maybe this one is F shape, you can play the whole melody of the song just right there. Right? It just falls under your fingers pretty much. You have to use your ear a little bit. And this is sort of the outline of the melody. It's not putting in the little passing tones in between. How many people here have done alternating thumb finger picking? Oh, wonderful. Let me show you the same thing with that style of playing. And here I'm going to be using mostly my 6th and 4th strings, which are octaves. And I'll pinch. I'm pinching on the beat now. I'm not going to do too much syncopation yet, but I'm going to get the melodies like this. Okay, let's see if you can. When I picked up my 1st string. Thumb just keeps going, right? Here, to get the melody, I'm kind of still on a G, moving it down just one fret to get. And when I go to my A now, of course, I'm playing 5th and 4th strings in the bass. Or I can put my thumb over the top and sometimes get that E note, then back. So there, I'm keeping my thumb going. And now that was all, everything was pretty much square on the beat. It's not the way I would ever play it, but I think it kind of gives you a framework for then starting to pick off the beat. So if I was going to do something like that, first of all, in its easiest configuration, I might go. Come and getting that second beat in the second note in there, the thumb has to stay. Remember, you're not going to go. It's there. It's so there. I'm syncopating those notes now. So if you're not really comfortable doing this, the first thing I would say is play it all on the beat. Don't try syncopating. But then when you do syncopate, make sure it's that up and then down motion. You're anticipating the beat. In other words, your melody note is coming a half a step before the thumb. Sometimes it's hard to do it slow. So there it's off the beat, right? Thumb keeps going. So there's that F shape, G, so there you can do a lot with that. And again, that's kind of, if I was playing that myself, I would probably add a lot more slides and hammer-ons and pull-offs. I might do, it's just a little demonstration. Let's see. Something like that. I don't know. But that kind of should give you some idea. Now, I do have the tablature. I, I would say use the tablature as a guide, not as a, it's different all the time. Um, I the tablature that you have for this is what I taught on a series of video, two video set that I did called Seven Bob Dylan Songs. So that's on Homespun, my company. And if you stick around to the end, maybe I'll give you a little code for getting those videos too, so you can work with that. And I do there's 7 songs, not ones we're going to do here, but except this one and maybe the next one. So this drop D tuning I use, as I said, for lots and lots of songs, including several Dylan songs. I use it for throw my ticket out the window, throw my suitcase out there too, throw my troubles out the door, I don't need them anymore, 'cause tonight I'll be staying here with you. I don't know if you know that song. I use that in drop D. It's a really useful tuning, and it's something I would suggest you play around with a lot, and try songs in other keys with it. Certainly songs in G. you just get that nice when you go to if you go to a D seventh. That's the key of G. Well, it's A with the capo, but you get the idea. Okay, so how's everybody doing so far? We're about an hour into this lesson. Let's stop for some questions. John, you want to moderate this?
Sure. I mean, nobody's putting anything really in the chat, so I'm guessing everybody's following along. And also, my view is speaker views for the recording. So just, if anybody's got any questions about what we've covered so far, why don't you unmute yourself and hop in there. And if we're all on board, then we're all on board and we can move on.
Okay. Let's go back to, I'm just looking at my list here. How's the level? Is this pretty much, is anybody feeling left behind or bored and they need to move ahead, or everybody's doing okay? Let's tackle Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. Now I'm going to go back to standard tuning, so I'm going to bring my 6th string back up. I'm going to keep the capo on the 2nd fret. Let's do that. Everybody's there anyway, and so I'm not going to work that. You'll have the tablature there for one version of this that I did on my video, but this is going to be off the top of my head here more, so it may not follow exactly. This, of course, is one of Bob's most widely recorded songs. I don't know how many people have recorded this song since we did our first version in 1960, early 63. Then his came out, and then a million other people recorded it. But we'll do it in the key of C with the capo on the 2nd fret. And one of the nice things about this song, again, is that the melody does fall very easily into the chords we're playing. So the chords do change almost every measure for the most part. So let me do it real slow here and see if you can follow along. And I'll just strum it to start with, but then I'm going to want to finger pick it also. So it starts with C, ain't no use, G, sit down, A minor, wonder why, babe. And to F. Now, once again, I use my thumb over the top for the F. You can use a bar. You just want to get that nice low F note there. If you don't know about C now. And then there's a little turnaround where it goes to a G7th. Back to C, ain't no use, G, sit down, A minor again, wonder why, babe. Now here's a little, this is a little twist here, because he goes to a D7th, and we're going to play it as a D7th with a 9th. And the easiest way to do that from this A minor chord is to take this 2nd finger, just put it up on the 6th string 2nd fret, and leave your 1st string open. It don't matter any, then G7th, how, or G, and then to G7th. And then it goes C, when the rooster crows, C7th, at the break of dawn, F again, look out your window. And here again is a D7th with a 9th, but this time let's play it like a C7th shape, moved up 2 frets, leaving your first string open. So you get a D7 with the ninth, because that's the way the melody goes. I'll be gone. It's right there. Then back to C. Then it's just like the beginning. G, A minor, F, C, G7, C. So let's just try strumming through the whole thing, one verse, and then we'll see what we can. And I'm going to stop every now and then and show some little things you can add as we go through it. So we'll just strum it, keep it slow. Okay, here we go. Ain't no use, G, sit and wonder, A minor, why, babe. Now, right here, this isn't, I don't think this is in my tablature, but I like to go do a little bass run from the A minor to an A minor seventh, which is putting the G in the bass here with my little finger, and then to an F. So, ain't no use. And you can also hammer on sit and wonder, A minor, babe. If you don't know by now, G7th, and it ain't no use, G7, A minor, babe. And here's another way of doing a little bass run. You could do it the same way, but end on the F sharp for that D7th. It don't matter anyhow. Okay, let's just take those two lines, nice and slow. Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. Bass run. If you don't know by now. G7, you could do a little walk up to the G7th. Open E, F sharp, G. See that? Again, I'm trying to play very straight bass notes, very strong bass notes. C, ain't no use, G, sit down, A minor, wonder why, babe. Now here you can either go down that way, or you can come up to that F sharp and go like this. Ain't no use, sit down, wonder why, babe. It don't matter anyhow. I think I like going down to it better. It don't matter any G. Okay, I'm going to throw something else in here for you now. When you're on this G, it goes to a G7th now. So instead of putting the G7th on the first string, that F natural note, I'm going to put it on the fourth string. So I'm going to play my open D string, then an E, and then F natural, and then strum a G. So once again, sit and wonder why, babe, to a D7th. It don't matter anyhow. Kind of comes a little faster. Or you could hammer this. And then you can bring this, get that low bass note again. When the rooster crows. Here I'm hammering, doing an alternate between fifth string, strum, hammer third, fourth string. Sorry. So let's just take that little transition again. Ain't no use sit and wonder why, babe. To a D seventh. It don't matter anyhow. When the sea rooster crows at the break of dawn, F, look out your window. Now here I'm going to go up to this. I'll be gone. C seventh shape. So from an F, easiest way is to take this ring finger and slide it up 2 frets. Use that as your anchor to get your C seventh. And I'm keeping that first string open. I'll be gone. Back to C. You're the reason, G, A minor, I'm traveling. F on C, G7, it's all right. And now I might go to, just as a little run up to my next verse. So that's pretty much the song, strumming it, adding some bass runs in there. Maybe we should do it one more time all the way through, see if we can catch it all, and then I'm going to move it up to the higher strings and do a little finger picking on this. Okay, here we go, a little faster. So I'll call out the chords as best I can. C, G7, A minor bass run, F, C, G7, C, G, A minor, bass run to a D7, G, now, rooster crows, C7 at the break of dawn, F, look out you, now D7, I'll be gone, C, you're the reason I'm traveling, don't think twice, it's all right, and into the next verse. Okay, so there's a lot of little things you can add to that, just strumming it. Just gonna get a little drink of water here. Now, one of the nice things about this song, just like Blowing in the Wind or any other songs that you can almost think of in this sort of folk genre of playing, is that the melody notes come pretty easily into the chords you're playing. If you just look at the first line, a C chord, that E note there is your melody, ain't no use, G. Now I'm not going to put in the little passing notes, but if you go to an A minor, on my F chord, there it is on the second string and third string, and then C. So right there you got, can add those. I can lift that finger up. G. second string, first string, the C7th there, F, second string melody. There's all those melody notes right there in that C7 shape at the third fret. Just picking that out by ear. Then back to a C. Now here I'm playing a G with a D on the top string. A minor. A little hammer on. F. Third string has the melody there. C. G with a D on the top. C. So you can sort of feel this out by hearing the melody in your head, playing the chords, and finding those notes, and then it's a matter of just putting the little passing notes in between to make the melody kind of come alive. Now, if I was going to play this with an alternate finger picking, one thing, now Bob did finger pick this on his original version on, I guess it was on the Freewheelin' album. And you can do a little pattern here. I would never say keep the pattern exactly the same all the way through a song because it'll get boring for you and for anybody who's listening. But you can kind of do a thumb, index. I have my index on the second string here and my middle finger on the first string, but sometimes I'll move them over to the third and second string. Thumbs going back and forth between the fifth and fourth, and then sometimes I'll go to the sixth, moving my ring finger and playing those treble notes in between. So that's one pattern you could use. If you speed, ain't no use to slam on the wire. As I said, it can get boring just to hear that thing over and over again. So I might switch to a pinch and then play. So that's pinch, index, thumb, middle, thumb, index, thumb, something like that. And a lot of times with this, you get one measure of that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, then you switch chords. So right there, you can hear that all I'm doing is doing that finger picking pattern and the melody's popping out. When I do that bass run, I go, because there the thumb has to kind of take the lead because it's on the beat. So the idea here is to keep the thumb going, and try to work the melody into whatever pattern you can come up with that will bring out the melody note as the most important note in the pattern. So sometimes it'll be on the high strings. Sometimes you have to put it in with your first finger on the third string, say. It's a filler, just then here I'd add my little finger to get that melody note. Or you can do that. So this is also a matter of just getting facility with your keeping your thumb going all the time, and you know. So I'll just digress here for a minute and say when I play, I don't use those patterns. Or if I do, I throw them in from time to time. But most of the time, it's my thumb that's going nonstop, and then I'm picking out the melody notes. And if you can do that, it's a lot better because if you can just keep your thumb going, and even if you start very simply on the beat, let's say, thumb's just going, thumb just doesn't stop. And that's the most important part of this kind of playing. If you have to use patterns, that's fine. You can make it work. Lots of the acoustic folk singers, including way back in the day, whether it's Joan Baez or Bob Dylan, or a lot of them did use patterns. They just, I think when Dylan played it, that's all he did was, wonder why, baby. Just nothing wrong with that. But to me, it's a lot, you can get a lot more kind of rhythmic kind of funk out of it, if you want to say it, by kind of doing more of a Merle Travis kind of thing. And you get more improvisational too as you go along. So forth. You could do a lot of different variations on it and have a lot of fun with it. So is that making sense to everybody?
So
Any
far, so good
questions?
for me. Yeah, let's see if we got clarifying. Actually, I'm going to throw one out there. Can you just do what you just did with the form once through one more time? Just kind of give us some ideas of how you flavor it up, but we can also hear the whole progression from start to finish.
You mean where I was improvising it, or
Yeah, just, yeah, kind of give us sort of what we're shooting for, but it
Sure,
also will allow us to hear the whole form all the
sure.
way through.
So, by the way, what I like to do is damp the strings a little bit in the bass, so it's not too ringy. Get a little more kind of a rhythmic chunk out of that instead of it. It's kind of a matter of taste, whatever you hear, but that's the way I like to do it. So this is doing it the without the pattern picking kind of thing. I'm going. So here's my rhythm. So then I'm getting a little melody. Those are all notes that, there's no melody really in there, so I'm just keeping the rhythm going. So F, using my little finger there to just get that. And I have to come down to the third string with my first finger to get that low melody note. Now I can. I'm going to go to the D7th with the ninth. Now here I go to a G. The melody really is this D note. So I might actually go to the, I like to go to this G with an F shape, my thumb over the top here. So I get that nice D note in there. But that's a, you can also do it this way. So I like to pull off that on that A minor. And that's again, you know, you have to keep the thumb going. And then or there's a C7th, and to get that seventh sound, my thumb is coming down to the third string. F. Now, a lot of times I'll hammer on that D note there. Again, it's an offbeat hammer, so you're plucking it on the beat. Then your thumb is, your little finger's coming down on the D note, and then your thumb follows that. There's your C7 shape at the third fret. So there I'm playing first string again, second string, third string. So that's the perfect melody there. I'll be gone. C. You can do anything you want there. Hammer it on, hammer it twice. There I'm going to this F shape G, third fret, C, So it never comes out exactly the same way twice when you do it this way, which is nice. You know, whether it's hammering twice or pulling off or putting the bass runs in. And with the song, if you're really going to try to perform a song like this, which has several verses, you might not want to do it the same way each time. And you know, and there's nothing wrong with just strumming it either when you're singing it, and then you can take a break. So it's kind of there's something about this chord progression that's really rich and gives you a lot of possibilities because it moves so beautifully through the song. So how we doing?
Doing
Anybody need,
great. how's everybody doing? Does anybody have any questions?
What was that?
Does anybody?
It's great.
Good.
Any other questions? No?
An astute bunch, I guess, Happy.
What was that, John?
It's an astute bunch.
Yeah, right. Um, so who has a favorite song that they're just dying to learn?
One of my favorites of yours is on Dylan's Greatest Hits Volume 2 when you guys did I Shall Be Released. I love how you play the intro to that leading into
Oh,
the
okay.
verse.
I could show you that. Yeah, that was a really fun session. But I couldn't tell you exactly how I did it, but I could show you kind of how I do it now. This wasn't in my lesson plan, so I don't have any tablature for this, but it's such a great song. Let's see. Maybe take the capo off. And I'll do this in E. So this is another one of those songs. It's a totally brilliant song, but it has a very, very simple chord progression. But it's a little different than the usual 1-4-5 because it goes from the 1, which is E, to the 2 minor, which is an F sharp minor, to the 3 minor, which is a G sharp minor. So these are it's like an E minor chord with a bar at the 2nd fret. Then an E minor chord with a bar at the 4th fret. Now, usually when I'm playing this, I do it with, again, my thumb over the top. I bar 3 strings and get my ring finger out 2 frets. I don't even bother with the fifth string. I kind of damp that out because that leaves my little finger free to do some things on the or my 2nd finger. And then sometimes I'll go to a B7th here. So here's the way the song goes, and how I did it with Dylan was so long ago, and I've done it for so many years myself that I can just show you the way I do it. So the song They say everything can be replaced. So that's your F sharp minor. Then up to, they say every distance is not near. And that repeats. I remember every face. Up 2 frets of every man. Back to I go to the F sharp and then to the B7th, put me here. Then the chorus is pretty much the same as the verse. I see my light come shining from the west down to the east. So that's just G sharp minor, F sharp minor, B7th, E. And this is all kind of the same. Any day now, any day now, I shall be released. So that's the basic chord structure of the song. It's kind of very, very simple. A lot of times the really best songs in the world are the simplest ones. So the way I play that, and I think the way I did it when I did it with Dylan, was that I was sliding up. So in E, a kind of standard turnaround. is using your second and third fingers on the fourth fret, first and third strings. That can slide around. I'd have to go back and listen to the old recording, but so the way I do it now is, and when I'm on this F sharp minor, I have to lift my ring finger off to get this. Then I go. Just to add those little extra grace notes there. I see my light come shining. There's no one way to do it. I just do it. Then sliding in. So this goes up to the fourth fret, second fret, and then E. And I'm just playing with my first two fingers, I'm playing the first and third strings. The other thing is I'm keeping my thumb going pretty much just on the bass string and damping it. So he's not to blame. So another thing I do a lot of times, and this I play all through my playing, I use this little. So there's a hammer on the E going from the G to the G sharp on the third string, and that starts on the offbeat and it comes down on the. Very useful little, very simple but useful little lick. So, I shall be relieved. Or I might go hammer on the third, then hammer on the second with my little finger on the C sharp there, and then E. Any day now, any day now. Now here I'm. Right hand. I shall be relieved. Here on the G sharp, I have to be on the just one fret higher. You don't want to go. That's definitely not right. So now, just as an aside, to give you some other ideas, when I play this live, I use a lot of bass lines too. Let's see how. I see my light come shining from the west down to the east. Something like that. So that's just on the sixth string. It's kind of like a boogie woogie bass, if you ever done that, but it's just part of it. Any day now, any day now, I shall be released. I kind of do it almost just improvisationally. Yonder stands a man. Now I could just do it rhythmically. Hear this lonely crowd. I still like adding those little. Man who swears he's not to blame. Now I should say some people go from this G sharp to an A to a B, and that's another way of doing it. Yonder stands a man in this lonely crowd. He's a man who swears he's not to blame. I don't think that's the way I did it with Dylan. I think we did it just using the F sharp, G sharp, back to F sharp, and then might even skip the B7 there and just went straight back to the E. So that's pretty much the way I did it. Let's see. I'll be right back. Say everything can be replaced. They say every distance is not near. That's the other way. But I remember every face of every man who put me here. See my light come shining. Now, see my light. You can move a D7th shape to the 5th fret, and then to the 7th fret, back to the 5th. That's the same as F sharp minor, G sharp minor. There's a nice variation there. Any day now. Any day now. I shall be released. Just you got to play around with these things. You got to experiment. You got to try different chord positions. Just, and try to get as loose and comfortable as you can. Don't tighten up. Don't try to do too many things at once. Just try to get one aspect of it, and little by little, you add little things, whether it's a little bass run or a little lick, that kind of thing. I think that's the key, is not trying to do too much at once. Um, so it's a lot to work on. I just have to. Any other questions or comments?
I have a comment that's slightly off topic. Way back in 1971, I bought fingerpicking styles for guitar, and it really changed my musical life. At the time, I knew how to fingerpick just a few little tunes, and it opened up the world of roots music for me. I'd like to ask you, you were fairly young when you wrote it. What prompted you to write the book? I've also met other guitar players who say the same thing. It was kind of a life-changing experience, meeting Doc Watson and John Hurd and all the people you present in the book.
Right. It was a long time ago. It was 1965 that I wrote the first published version of that book. Um, I just, I was trying to learn myself from records, and I was having so much trouble learning from, trying to figure out the records. And I just thought it would be, I just so revered some of these people like Merle Travis, Mississippi John Hurt, Libba Cotton, Etta Baker, all these people that I was listening to on records. And I just thought that it would be, I knew there was nothing like it on the market, that nobody had ever done anything like this. So I felt like this could be a contribution. I was also, I've been teaching guitar almost since I could play the guitar. Probably a couple of years after I started playing, I started teaching at summer camps, and then getting people to come over to my house when I wasn't playing professionally. There were long periods of time where I had nothing else going on professionally, and rather than get a real job, I started doing private teaching. So I kind of knew from my students what people were interested in, and they'd bring me records and say, how does this go? How do we do that? So I just got the idea, and I brought it to the people at the time, the same people that were publishing Sing Out magazine, were starting a publishing company called Oak Publications, which was songbooks and instructional books. So I went to Erwin Silber, who was the editor of Sing Out at the time, and I just told him I had this idea, and he gave me the go ahead. I may have already showed him some rough sketches and I was never much of a good music reader. Still to this day, I don't read music very well. But I painstakingly went through these records that I had. And in those days, it was picking up the needle and putting it back down and slowing the record down. I think I had a turntable that would play a 33 and a third RPM record at half speed. So that helped a little bit, but it's still placing the needle on the same spot each time and trying to figure out what Merle Travis or John Hurd or any of these other people were playing. And in those days, I hadn't even seen those people in person myself. So it was all by ear and trying to figure it out. And I'm delighted that that book is still in print. It's now been combined with my second book, which was called Contemporary and Traditional Fingerpicking Styles, where I added some other people like Mike Seeger and Dave Van Ronk and people who were contemporaries of mine. So those two books are now combined into one, and that was kind of the genesis for Homespun. Anybody here on our Homespun mailing list? Are you guys familiar with it? A few people get. So with Homespun, we started that not long after I wrote that book, and I put out a series of tapes based on that book, Fingerpicking Styles for Guitar, because people were writing to me and saying, well, okay, I have the book now, but I can't find the records, because not everybody if you didn't live in New York or Chicago or LA or someplace like that, where do you find these records? The average record store did not have a record where you could find Etta Baker on a record. So then I decided I'd make some tapes that would show people how they went, my version of it anyway. And that started Homespun. So that's where that went. And now we have, a whole catalog, and it's all downloads. Nobody has any tapes anymore. Nobody under a certain age even knows what a tape is.
I find the tapes on Amazon and eBay just to have the cassette. I like the cassette, and then I buy them for streaming online.
Yeah. Well,
But
some people do, but we just can't keep tapes in stock or even DVDs anymore. It's getting to the point where people don't even have DVDs, so it's kind of a strange time if you remember the times of splicing tape and putting leader on the top and turning it over to get the second side, all that stuff. So my grandkids don't even buy CDs. Why do we need to buy a CD? So,
yeah, different musical world.
but anyway, thank you, David, for that. Those nice words about that book. Yeah. So I think that'll conclude this lesson. I hope you guys got something out of it. I hope you enjoyed it. You can write to me at Homespun or John can give you my email address. I don't
Sure.
mind if you write to me, and we'll hopefully do this again with maybe a different subject matter.
Yeah, I would love to do that. So we'll talk, Happy, and everyone. I'll follow up with the recording and with I'll put the material back in the follow-up email just so you have everything in one place, and I'll put Happy's email in there if you have questions, and a link to the Old Town School, but also to Homespun, so you can learn more about both institutions.
You also mentioned that you're going to give us the 7 Dylan songs.
Pardon?
Yeah, you should have received.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm gonna. What I'll do is I'll make a special code for you guys, and I'll give you a free download of that since you've
very
what
kind.
what this. I'll give you a free download, and let's make up a code right now that it'll take. Don't go on right away. It'll take me a little while to put it into the system, but let's say OTS for Old Town School, OTS 2021. So what you do is you go to the Homespun site, you sign up, you purchase that. You can go. We can put the link to it.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. I think I can do it right now. Let me just see. Let's see if I got Homespun here. I should. Yeah. So I'm gonna go into the chat, and I'll put